Now, before we can get into the festivities, we have to give a big old 07 to NERF Elite, because it is well and truly dead, according to Hasbro, with the advent of NERF N-Series. I assume unless N-Series completely bombs, so we'll find out. Special thanks to Hasbro that sent me out these 4 blasters to do video on, and I kind of split them into 2 videos, or 2 different NERF loadouts. They didn't pay me anything, not that that would matter, because I'd still give you guys my honest opinions, and if you've seen any of my previous videos, I have absolutely no qualms about ever telling Hasbro what I think. And let me temper expectations right off the bat. Ages 8 and up. This is not NERF Pro. This is NERF Ultra 2.0. And historically, if you remembered, I actually liked NERF Ultra for the most part. I wished it was better. So, is N-Series better? Let's start where everybody should start, the NERF N-Series Ward. This is a $5 blaster, and is meant to be your first step in a NERF N-Series. It comes with a blaster with a pullback prime and 2 N-Series darts. Speaking of which, we have 2 N-Series darts, and the entirety of N-Series rests about how good these 2 darts are. Right off the bat, they are foam, regular foam. This is kind of what you would expect, and it's got a flat rubber head right here, and what looks to be some kind of plug or bit at the back, and yeah, that is dart DRM. These blasters are not meant to work with anything that doesn't have this exact dart to it. And that also means these darts aren't supposed to work in any other blaster. I would say that's anti-consumer. Hasbro literally said it's to protect the integrity of their brand, so they can promise you the NERF quality seal of approval. But yeah, your Elite darts, your Mega darts, your Ultra darts, your Hyper rounds, your Vortex discs, your literally everything will not work in this blaster, and these darts are not supposed to work with anything else. Honestly, I think the only thing that upsets me the most about these darts is that the front is very firm, the back is very firm, but the middle, super duper squishy. By weight, the new NERF N-Series darts are 1.12 gram. And of course, your standard NERF Elite, 1.04 gram. It should be around 1 gram, so that's within margin. In terms of size, they are a bit smaller than NERF Ultra dart, but they are larger than a NERF Elite dart. Oh, it's another caliber change. Let's see here. They are at the head about 14 millimeter, while Ultra is about 16 millimeter, and Elite is about 12.5 millimeter. So for $5, you only get the 2 darts and the blaster, but to be fair, the blaster is much larger than what you'd expect for $5. I mean, this thing is basically the size of a Fire Strike. It feels okay, honestly. It does feel a little bit thinner than you'd normally get with NERF plastic, but in terms of actual use, not that bad. Not the most comfortable grip ever, but plenty of room for the trigger. The trigger is really small, flat, and sharp, but it's a small little secondary style blaster, but the pullback is huge, and it's got a good amount of pop to it. There are 2 slots up at the front, and these are basically smart air restrictors, so it can fire both darts before having to reload one at a time. And it spins okay. It's not the best. Let's see our first shots with NERF N-Series. Definitely got some pop to it. That is interesting. Let's take over to Freddy and see what actual numbers we're getting before we move on to the main course. Stating the obvious here, but these darts are not comparable to already existing NERF darts. They're different geometry, size, weight, everything. But we are getting a baseline of around 85 feet per second, with the Ward kissing up to a 90.7 feet per second velocity, which is pretty good for a stock NERF product. Now, the Ward is the cheapest and most accessible in the series. This is the biggest and baddest in NERF N-Series. Freaking NERF N-Series Infinite. This thing seriously comes with 80 darts, a 40-round chain magazine thing, pump action, all for $40, which is far more of a deal than you would ever get out of Hasbro for anything else. That is commendable, because that is a lot of N-Series darts on top of a blaster that has a brand new mechanism we haven't really seen before. As you can tell, this magazine is actually removable, and it's a 40-round chain. It also has 16 darts of storage in it for some freaking reason. It is pump action, but I don't see anything along the lines of slam fire. Probably darts. Probably blaster. Maybe darts? Oh my gosh, that magazine weighs a ton, and that is everything. And wow, what an interesting setup. So it is a chain. It doesn't really want to freely move, and the darts only barely sit inside of it. These are less than half by the looks of it. So the actual magazine itself keeps those darts inside. Blaster itself is freaking massive. I guess it has to be for that magwell. That is the biggest magwell I've ever seen, with the chunkiest, heaviest mag release there is. The stock is very small, but it's usable, especially with the forward rail right there. And we've got a jam release button right there blended in. And that is definitely an N-Strike tactical rail. Even have a jam door right there where you can see, again, that massive pusher inside. Now, here's my main concern with this blaster. Typically, with NERF N-Strike and stuff like that, all the blasters basically hit the same. If this blaster hits the same velocity as the Ward, not the end of the world, but it kind of just means every single time you get an N-Series blaster, you know exactly the velocity and how it's going to work. And I think that's actually a bad thing. You can argue that it balances out the game a little bit, which is fun and fair, but it really doesn't give you much of a reason to pick up the bigger things. That also means the bigger things are just straight up upgrades of the lowest thing. That is a ton of darts. Not 2 magazines, but enough darts to fill up 2 of them. And then you just take your dart and you just kind of set it in there like that. And it's good. And it's really, really easy to reload. If you have like a table or something to reload this blaster, it will be extremely quick and easy, which I do like. No, seriously, this is one of the quickest and easiest blasters to reload, especially for the capacity. That is incredible. Take our mag, put it right in there. All right, it's in there pretty good. It is admittedly pretty goofy. Ooh, that was not very good. It does have slam fire, at least. It's not the strongest slam fire. It definitely has a lot of locks in there, but you can at least kind of do it. That does seem to be firing almost weaker than the Ward. So let's take it over to Freddy and see exactly what we're dealing with here, and more importantly, accuracy test this stuff and see how it flies, because that is the most important thing about these blasters. Bizarrely enough, this actually does seem to fire a bit weaker on average compared to the Ward. The Infinite does have that massive magazine, and it does have slam fire and all those good stuff, but yeah, low 80s, maybe mid 80s on a high. That's pretty disappointing for a blaster of this size, but it's also not meant to be a power blaster. It's meant to be capacity, rate of fire over pretty much anything else. And for that, the Infinite does succeed, and honestly, that's all it really needs to do besides fling foam. All right, we have to see how these darts perform in flight. That's the most important thing, because Elite darts are notorious for just curving off in random directions. And we do have the new N-Series blasters. Now, Hasbro admitted that they test these blasters for accuracy in 25-foot ranges. So while we can empirically test that with the indoor range, I really want to see what these darts do past 25 feet. All right, first things first, the Ward. Hopefully these do good. I have my concerns. A little bit of an angle. Well, I was straight as an arrow. That was also basically straight as an arrow. The ranges aren't improved much. Give it a little bit more of an angle. Oh, well, that was much farther. Again, a little bit of a lob shot. Okay, we're in business. That is remarkably better. A little bit of flat shot. Right in the puddle. Another little bit of flat shot. That's perfect. That's absolutely fine. I am cool with that. Ranges don't seem to be that much improved at all. Maybe a little bit, but stability in flight is much improved. That is usable. You could use those darts. All right, now time for the Infinite. It seemed to hit a little bit less than the Ward, so let's see what's going on here. That was with a decent angle. Actually, we can give it way more of an angle. Ooh, that one actually did just dive straight into the ground. Okay, Okay, I think we have some seal issues with this one. I'm holding the pump forward. Yeah, even with a big old stinky angle. Yeah. Well, I guess they're not all built for distance. This one definitely has the edge in firing speed and capacity, but definitely loses out when it comes to range, even compared to the $5 War. Not sure how I feel about that yet. That is a balancing point, but it's also not great. All right, first things first, target test. Closer to the bullseye, higher the score. I'm gonna try it with the Ward, with no optics or even iron sights. And we are not off to a great start because I literally completely missed the target apparently. Let's try that again. That does not seem very accurate. That was a little bit better. That first shot kind of just curved wildly. Way low? Look, I know I don't have sights, but I have fired probably hundreds of thousands of darts in my life. What? I literally cannot even hit the target. Are you okay, target? I know somebody's gonna say it's my fault. I tell you, I have done this 4. That's okay. Actual target cam. There we go! $15. Well, you know what this calls for. Ready. $36. I'm not having a good time with this at all right now. This is really bad. Really bad. $23. Last try. That dart came out backwards. $45, and I almost feel like that was luck. I mean, I've got the shots, I might as well do one more. This is not good. If you seriously think I am doing that on purpose, well, Nerf has a blaster to sell you, because that one was dead on. That last shot was perfect. No. This is, I don't know why it was so good at range. And then on the inside range, it is the most inconsistent thing imaginable. I'm gonna go find a freaking Nerf blaster and just a couple of like 10 random darts, and I bet you I can do better than that. No sights. $50. I don't know what to tell you. N-Series, I want to grade it on 5 different little categories. One is going to be distance, how far the darts fly compared to the Elite standard. Next up is stability, how stable the darts are in flight. Very important. Potential accuracy, that's something that, like, if your dart is stable, then you should actually be able to hit your target at range and how good it feels to land those hits. 4 is value. Value is very important, especially with how Nerf has been for the last couple of years. And 5 is fun. How fun is it for me to use these blasters? In terms of distance, I'm going to give the award a 4 out of 5. Compared to other Nerf ammo types, it does sail pretty good. You can lob some shots pretty freaking far. Stability-wise, I'm going to give it a 3. Most of my shots were pretty stable with this thing, even when lobbing them, and I felt like that was pretty important. If there was a human-sized target about 50 feet away, I'd feel comfortable trying to hit them with my ward. In terms of potential accuracy, I'm going to drop that to a 2 out of 5. It was very not good. If Elite darts are a 1 out of 5, and they are, trust me, this was a 2 out of 5. I really don't feel like if somebody's hiding behind cover, I could reliably hit them with this blaster. In terms of value, it's a 5 out of 5. It's a $5 blaster. It comes with 2 darts. It works pretty darn well, and it gives you a good example of what NERF N-Series is capable of. So good on you for that one, Hasbro. And in terms of my subjective fun value, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. There's nothing unique or interesting here that makes this blaster stand out from the rest. In fact, it's a reshell of things we've gotten so many times the best. But it does work fine, and it's surprising at times how easy it is to use, and for that, I think it's well deserving of a 3 out of 5. And now for the Infinite. In terms of distance, I'm gonna give this thing a 3 out of 5. It was okay. It was under what the ward was giving me, and at times it did kind of curve into the ground a lot more often than the ward did, but it was pretty good. It was comparable to things like NERF Ultra, and it was definitely better than NERF Elite. In terms of stability, again, it's a pretty decent 3 out of 5. It was surprising how often the darts were stable in flight, which is good, but there were still plenty that curved downwards, and that's never good. In terms of accuracy, 2 out of 5. Pretty much the same thing with the ward. The difference here is that you have pretty much unending ammo, so eventually you will probably hit your target. That's a good thing with something with such a large capacity. And in terms of value, 5 out of 5. $40 for a blaster that does send foam downrange, does send it downrange pretty considerably, does it pretty much unendingly. It is super easy to reload, and then it comes with another 40 darts on top of that. In terms of fun, man, this is like a 2, I would say, maybe a 3. The reason for that is that prime really holds this blaster back. It is so easy to reload this thing, and it pretty much fires forever, which is awesome. But man, that prime, those locks, that inability to really slam off shots like other blasters, that's super disappointing, and that ruins what could be an absolute awesome spam machine of a dart blaster. But the question of the day is it better than NERF Ultra? I'm gonna surprise you and say maybe not in a lot of ways. I feel like NERF Ultra did catch its stride toward the end. The darts were more durable. They were now more accurate with the AccuStrike darts. The blasters had some pretty cool things going on for them. And while the value proposition definitely wasn't there, Ultra had some really good, fun blasters. Let us not forget the NERF Ultra 2, one of the best blasters Hasbro has ever released that just needed a little bit more time in the oven, and then they did literally nothing with it after that. Is it better than NERF N-Strike, the thing that these blasters are fundamentally replacing according to Hasbro? And for that, I'm dubious. I think it is, for all intents and purposes. We've had the standard NERF Streamline Dart for almost 20 years. Yeah, it's time for a change, even if all of the other series that NERF put beforehand didn't exactly stick around. But is N-Series comparable to NERF N-Strike? Yeah, I mean, it's at points where it needs to be, it is better. I would rather use N-Series over any kind of Elite dart. They're gonna be more stable, they're gonna be more accurate, and they're gonna fly farther than any kind of Elite dart. But do I think that NERF N-Series at the moment is really good? I mean, there's only one blaster in this entire line so far that does anything remotely different, and it could be done with virtually any other type of blaster, and that is the Infinite. Of everything we've seen so far, this is the only thing with any kind of uniqueness to it. Every single other blaster in the line is a reshell of something we've gotten dozens of copies of before, which is incredibly disappointing, and I really hope that is not the way this goes forward, because if Hasbro's plan for these blasters is to just rehash the entirety of NERF Elite again and again and again with a different dart type, yeah, I have a problem with that, because it is boring Nothing about Nerf is exciting anymore, and my biggest freaking complaint is the fact that this blaster hits harder than this blaster, which is telling me, and trust me, I've already fired the other ones too, it's basically like, no matter, you see this blaster on shelf, once you've fired one N-Series blaster, you know exactly what every other N-Series blaster is going to do. That's why reshells are super boring, and that's why I wish we would get more unique, fun things. Like the Infinite. All things considered, the Infinite is gonna be super fun to use in something like HVZ. And these are both stock. There's no telling what these things can do with a little bit of modification, and, well, I see plenty of screws on that boy, and plenty of screws on this boy, and that tells me that there is potential for modification here with these blasters. And if you're doing like a 130 velocity cap, well, I bet you can bring these things up closer to the cap, and with a different dart, that may be good. Or it may be super awful because the darts will just fly off randomly. We have no idea at this time. It's really too early to tell. I wanted to be super hyped for these blasters, and I want to give them more of a chance, but I feel like I'm right back where I started with Nerf Ultra. I was super hyped for Nerf Ultra, even past all the doom and gloom. I really hoped Nerf Ultra would be good. And Nerf N-Series so far is up to a pretty rough start. But it is a start, and things can always get better from here. Maybe the darts are just rushed in production and they need a little bit more time to cook. Maybe they have much more innovative blaster designs coming that will have new gimmicks that feature the utilities of what N1 darts can do and not just be basically the same thing as Nerf Ultra and of course Nerf Elite. And because I'm gonna get this feedback no matter what, yes, these blasters are for kids. My problem is that you could go out and buy like an Adventure Force Villainator for 20 bucks, maybe even cheaper. I mean, I don't even know how much that blaster's still on store shelves right now, but that was such a good blaster that it pretty much rendered the entirety of everything Nerf made for years practically fundamentally useless because it fired farther, it was more accurate, it had a larger capacity, it was cheaper. It basically just completely invalidated the entirety of a brand with one blaster. And I know people hate hearing about that, but it was honestly true. And there have been so many good blasters since then. Maybe I need a little bit more time with N-Series, but I've fired these things hundreds of times now. I've probably went through 8-9 rounds of this 40 round mag, and I'm just not feeling it.